Greetings and salutations, friends, old friends, and hopefully some new friends, and welcome back to Truthseekers. Our guest, Rachel Hoffman, is standing by in our green room, and I'm so delighted and excited to talk to her tonight. You may remember that we did an interview with her all about her paranormal expeditions and adventures into uh, paranormal events and ghosts. Since then, she has embarked on a new career of sorts as a horror movie scream queen. And I've been watching her adventures in movie land with great interest. And I'm so pleased and delighted and excited to welcome her tonight into our show here. So without further ado, ladies and gentlemen, let's please welcome our fantastic guest tonight, Rachel Hoffman. I'm so glad you're here.
Hi, thank you so much. It's been a while, but we have a lot to catch up on.
Yeah, I've been watching your Facebook and I can't believe some of the pictures and adventures that you've had in the past. I don't know, it's been a little over a year since we really talked.
Yeah,
And
I
I'm
was in
selfish. I don't talk offline with people like you. I say, no, come on the show and we'll just talk and share it so that my friends can, come along with us for the adventure.
I love it. Yeah, save it all up and let it all out on the show. That's the best way to do it. And some of my friends I talk to like every day. Some of my friends I talk to every like 30 years. So
I just
good to
told you
catch up.
because you're much easier on the eyes than me. So, I wanted to though to give people who may have missed your first interview some background into how you got started with these paranormal investigations and the ghost hunting and things like that before you got into the movie business.
Yeah, definitely. Well, I have definitely had a lot of spiritual experiences since I was young. And I lived on a patch of land that really didn't have much going on and still actually doesn't to this day. It's out way out in the mountains. And I actually saw, well, I had an imaginary friend. And so I was
This
actually
is
seeing
one of
a
my
ghost.
favorite. This is one of my favorite paranormal stories ever. I tell everybody about this girl on my show. Go ahead. This is a great. This is just. I just want to tell everybody this is one of my favorite stories because it's so, like, just strange and bizarre and like if the world really works this way, we live in a very interesting world. So I'm
It's
sorry for
parallel.
interrupting. Yeah.
No, that's okay.
So tell us
It's
about your friend, your imaginary friend when you were a child.
So her name is Maybelle Deo. She's 3 years, 5 months, and 8 days old. And I saw her throughout my childhood and I played with her and I wasn't afraid of her, nothing. And one day they found her tombstone 100 feet from my bedroom window. And when they flipped it over, we had to scrape the moss off of it. And you can see it says Maybelle on it. And my family's like, how did you know her name? But I was spelling it wrong because I was just a kid, but I was pronouncing it correctly. And she was, she's still my friend. I still catch her on some of my ghost equipment sometimes.
So it turns out what you thought was an imaginary friend was a ghost girl that was buried right near your home.
Yeah, it was crazy, but I think her entire family's there, but they were indigent, so you can't really tell. The earth has swallowed some of these stones back up,
Hmm.
moss and things like that. It was 100 years before I was born, so it had been covered, and that back then they did the best they could to, um, memorialize the grave, and they had people come out and do the letters on the grave. And the UG is missing from the daughter, so it says just DATER, but you get the point. You know that she's there. And yeah, so I spent my childhood with her, and she was just amazing. And she really opened me up to everything. And that's the reason I became a paranormal investigator.
And you said that you still have sometimes you still pick her up on some of the equipment that you have and do you feel her presence still and
Yeah,
communicate
definitely.
or
It's crazy. Yeah. I turned on my digital recorder, and actually she was the first ghost that I caught ever on like my ghost equipment. When I finally got it, I was like, oh, I'm gonna turn this on and see. They say not to really use it in your house, but I was like, I was sitting in my living room, I was like, oh, let's see what's going on. And I turned it on and she was like, Rachel, and I recognized her voice. And the interesting thing is she's almost matured over the years. Like she was 3 when she passed away, but she's much older now, mature wise. Like she's able to like speak and respond. She's intelligent. It's amazing because even though we change shape, we don't stop learning and growing. And it's just amazing.
Yeah, I'm sorry. You're gonna have to forgive me too because I have a bit of a cold. Luckily, it's not COVID, but
Oh my gosh.
and you know what? I haven't been sick in like 2 years, so I can't complain. But I've got a terrible cold and sore throat. But I've got all this tea with honey, and I'll be fine. I didn't want to cancel on you, but I do feel terrible.
No, that's
But I
fine.
feel
That's
better
fine.
now seeing you and knowing that you're here because
Yeah, I
I've
totally
got
understand.
I've got so many questions about this. So I don't know if you know it, but I was in a few indie horror movies, but they didn't go well. And one of them I spent a great deal of time on, and the guy never even finished it.
Yeah,
And that's a terrible pill to swallow when you get into these indie films because
yeah,
in my case, I traveled 3 states away from me for like 6 weekends to do this. And I was so excited, like I'm going to be in a movie. And then the movie never really happened. But you have a much more reputable filmmaker. Can you tell us a little bit about the filmmaker that you've been working with and how you guys hooked up? And
yes, we have Josh Graves that we just finished The House That Eats Flesh, and it was
I got the
amazing.
trailer. Can we play the trailer? We're going to play the
Yeah, I
trailer
do have
sometime.
it.
Yeah, I have it. It's on YouTube, right? The House That Eats Flesh
Yeah,
trailer.
it is. It is. Yeah. It's pretty amazing. Everybody worked amazing. The production team was incredible. We got thrown a few punches during the filming, rolled with punches, came out so
I
good.
once had to do a whole new weekend because of bullfrogs. There was
Oh,
bullfrogs
the
and all the
noise.
microphones, so they made us reshoot a whole bunch, like a whole weekend's worth of stuff. I was so mad because
Oh
again,
my gosh.
yeah,
Yeah, audio is important.
yeah. You guys have got hit with some curveballs. These are the pitfalls of trying to make movies, especially when you don't have like billion-dollar budgets like some people, right?
Yeah, and in the indie world, you have to wait to be paid till after the production has finished, and that's like,
Yeah, I'm familiar with that too.
yeah, it's
And you just
very
gotta hope that you're
common,
gonna get some money. Yeah, maybe I'll get some money someday for this,
right?
right?
And so it's very common. Post-production costs quite a bit too.
Mm-hmm.
So
Everything's not
sometimes
cheap,
it's
and
necessary to run a few campaigns, to get the production covered completely. But when you're not bound to the agreement because you're not necessarily being paid for a long time, some people aren't in a position to leave their job for 6 weeks in a row. You know what I mean? Like,
yeah.
and
And then there's a flake
that's,
out factor. I've been involved in some things where the character we had to reshoot because the guy who was playing this part bailed out halfway through and couldn't do it anymore. So now you got a new guy, and now we got to go back and. But
do
I
the whole
love this.
thing.
I love this idea of indie film production. I want to do some myself. I want to try it myself because I love this. Just get some good cameras, get a group of good people together, and make a
Yes.
great story. Right?
Yeah. That's the biggest thing. And I just recently started my own production company because of that. I like dependable people, and I know that I have to build a crew of people that I trust and that I can live with almost because that's what it takes on these
Yeah,
movies. You
yeah.
have to cohabitate with people. It's not easy.
Yeah, but it's also so isn't it like part of the fun of that? There's this camaraderie, and you guys are
It
all on
is.
this mission together. I had one project that went really well that I felt like this was worth doing, even just for the experience of doing it. And I don't care what happens, with the
Yeah,
with the film
I've
part of
had
it.
that. Yeah, I've walked away with a lot of people that are like family to me, so it's been really great. Like I've had a lot of great experiences and also a lot of traumatic experiences. Like I had the movie Axe to Grind that I was in, and it was a dumpster fire, really, and it
I
wound
know
up.
I saw some of that. So what happened with you? You were posting pictures, you were filming for this movie, Axe to Grind, for a long time. Is
Yeah,
that what?
Axe to Grind and Go Straight to Hell, both of them I had been working on for a year, and I've been advertising. My investors had put in money to make this movie come to fruition, and so when I got there, actually one of the individuals that paid to be my boyfriend on the movie, because I was basically like auctioned off a little, and
Wait a minute. Wait, you got to back up. So a guy paid money to be in the movie so that he could be your boyfriend in the movie. He invested some money.
yeah, two guys did. Two guys paid 6,000, and then I got there, and like there was two guys that were supposed to be my boyfriend, and the movie was like ever changing. It like the script was like changing, like the labyrinth. It was crazy. Like so, I got there, and I was supposed to be like, "Hi, my name's Honey Voodoo." You know what I mean? Like, and that just didn't even happen. Like, there was a lot of distraction. The guy that was paid to be my boyfriend on the set was actually my stalker. And so they wouldn't ask him to leave the set. I felt uncomfortable and unsafe. And he brought prop guns, and one of them was a regular gun, a real gun. And I felt really uncomfortable. So I was put in an unfortunate situation there. You know what I mean? And we were all kind of just we were put under the wrong impression that someone had the skills that they didn't have to be able to make this movie happen. And
That's
with
the
camera,
situation. That's the situation that I was in. It turned
yeah,
out that this person,
you have to have
they
efficiency.
just woke up one day and said they're going to be a director, and I didn't know. I didn't
Yeah,
know. Like I just and it was terrible because I invested a lot of time, energy, and passion into doing this thing, and then just totally the whole thing just fell apart, and you get
yeah,
nothing to get nothing for it.
yeah,
Except one thing I did learn is to ask to see the resume and films you've made, like because
yeah,
I have a friend in Philadelphia, and they did a film in Philadelphia called Center City, and I just did a small part. But in that case, I could ask him, "Can I see some films that you've made?" And
hmm,
he sent me a whole list. So I said, "There's a high likelihood that if he's doing a film, he's going to finish it this time."
yeah,
So I learned a lesson, and you move
yeah.
forward, and you know,
Yeah, definitely. And I've had people even play me like that. Like so you could be like, you could go get people coffee on a set and say you're a part of a movie. Like, doesn't matter. Doesn't mean that you're part of a
yeah.
responsible piece of the movie. Like, I was
I
in
was an
Ghostbusters.
extra. I was an extra in Rocky Four, but you don't see me anywhere in the movie. And I tried like hell to see me. I
Really?
didn't find. Yeah, yeah.
I was
There
in
was this.
Ghostbusters. I was like Cappuccino Girl,
You
like
were in the Girl Ghostbusters,
the girl
weren't
one.
you?
Yeah.
And I recognized you in that,
You
and I
did?
laughed when I see that. Yeah, yeah.
That's so funny. Yeah. I was actually in it for like 14 days. So if you look at it and you put it
You
on
have a
like
couple of cameos. Yeah.
Blu-ray, yeah, and my hair changes lengths because I was there for like a couple weeks. It was
That's funny.
crazy. Yeah, that was a lot of fun there. So, but yeah, still chaotic, still dramatic, still had my haters like trying to rip me down from the set. And it was funny because someone had lied about me and said that I was posting behind the scenes pictures to try to get me kicked off the set. And so instead, what it did was the director called me, and I was like, I don't have any pictures up like that. And so he was embarrassed and he felt bad. And the next day I saw him at breakfast, and we were like, he came and sat across from me, and I was like, you know, I was
Yeah.
just like freaking
Awkward.
out.
Yeah. Yeah.
I was
Awkward.
free. Yeah. So no, but he was like, so do you want to come back? Because that was my last day. And I was like, yeah, sure. Like, absolutely. I want to come back. I like my chances of meeting Bill Murray have just doubled at this point. So, I heard rumors that he was going to be on. I never actually did meet him, but I
Yeah,
came
and for
back
those
for,
that don't know, on a Hollywood set, you're not allowed to take any pictures and post them on social media. It's usually in a contract to
yeah,
not do that. Yeah.
they took our phones, like literally, like we had to put our phone
Yeah.
in. Yeah. And we had
Yeah.
to put it
Come on,
in like with our,
Rachel. This Ghostbuster Girl film is top secret, and we can't have any leaks of this
yeah,
film. You know what?
it was crazy.
I think that film was. I'm looking forward to the new one. This
Yeah, me
Ghostbusters,
too. Me too.
this
And
new one.
I thought it was a funny spin. They had a lot of good ghosts and stuff in the girl one. Um, I understand people's feeling about like how it was like lingering in the air with no, like without the thread that attached it to the last story. But honestly, like I just loved it. I thought it was a lot of fun. I was
Yeah, they could have.
personally,
It was. I thought it was. I thought it was well made. Like the special effects were good. I thought the
yeah,
actresses did a great job, but I thought the writing was terrible. like all they had to do was make one of those girls related to one of the original characters, or do something more to connect the dots. It was just like you
Right.
were thrown in, and it didn't
Yeah.
make very
And
much
when Bill
sense.
Murray heard the outrage from it, he actually wrote himself into it as the individual that he was in the story.
Hmm.
So
Yeah,
it was
interesting.
really
He tried
funny,
to
but
support them. He did try to be supportive of them and their efforts.
absolutely, yeah. And I mean, I understand people are diehards, like they want to hear like the every little detail about, how the story connects and stuff. And I get it,
Hmm.
but it was fun, and it was like one of those things. But yeah, so what that person, whoever it was trying to throw me under the bus for something I didn't do, actually like got me rewarded with another 2 weeks on the set.
You got another couple paychecks, so you thank that person.
Yeah, it
Thank you
was,
very
but
much.
and it was also amazing. I mean, they were 14-hour days, and it was freezing in Boston, and they were trying to make it look like New York City. So we were in the
Movie
streets
magic.
in Boston, and they were soaking the streets, and we were free, like they were hitting us with water. It's awful.
Oh
It was so
no.
cold.
Yeah, and so with these other indie films, though, like I said, sometimes they just kind of fall apart. So you kind of had but you know what I want to tell you? I want to tell you, don't stop swinging, because you're not going to
No,
hit that home run unless you keep swinging, and you got to be willing to strike out. And I've had a few that just didn't go anywhere, and it's
yeah,
disappointing and it's discouraging. But you dusted yourself off, you got yourself in another movie that did get made. So
yeah,
there you go, right?
definitely. Yeah, so I'm very excited about that. And then, I have my recent experience with Go Straight to Hell, and unfortunately, like, there was the drama on the set there where, in the last few days of filming, there was, threats to my safety and things like that. So we're looking at the prospect of going back and finishing the last 3 days of filming for that. The set date for that is 2022. So I'm hoping
Hopefully
that
cooler
every,
heads Yeah, hopefully cooler heads will prevail. I mean, you
yeah,
guys already invested so much time and energy, and they probably have 90% of it done. Or
yeah, it's literally there's 3 scenes left.
it
Like it's
looked
not.
good from what I saw. You guys were posting
Thank you.
pictures, and I just like the idea of that. Go straight to hell, like
Yeah.
the
Yeah, it is cool, like it's to me like I could really grasp onto the story because some of the people that were paying for their sins were judges and doctors, and like there's a certain degree of deserving being dragged straight to hell,
Yeah, it's
and it's worth.
justified. It's not like
Yeah,
you're just taking innocent people and torturing them. These are people, and the
right.
movie shows why they might deserve this fate at the end of the
Yes.
day, right?
Yes. And right now I'm doing a television spin-off of the Go Straight to Hell series. So if I can spit that one more time, Go Straight to Hell series.
we
And
have the we have the House That Eats Flesh trailer. I'm going to embarrass you and
oh
play
yeah, you
it.
can pop that
I
on
was
really quick.
surprised to see your character because it wasn't what I expected. I
Yeah,
expected
no, I
like
I
your
think a lot of
typical,
people,
yeah,
not the typical
you
blonde me.
yeah, but it's still cool, and
Thank you.
it's still very interesting to me. And it made me want to see the movie more, seeing your character who's kind of like scarred and deformed a little bit. And
Hmm.
yeah, very, very interesting. So we're going to share this. I'm going to cite fair use. Uh, Even though we have one of the stars of this movie here, we're still going to cite fair use. This is a transformative work. We're educating the public about The House That Eats Flesh, Rachel's newest film that she has been involved in. Let's take a watch, friends.
We're all killers, aren't we? It's in our nature to kill.
My, someone here has a very dirty mouth. Someone might be careful, might get that tongue cut out, little girl.
Very nice, very interesting. That makes me want to see it more, really.
Thank you. Yeah, it was a lot of great kill scenes. I must say, even on the fly, they had to come up with some stuff because we had some people not unable to show up for different reasons, and you know how that goes too.
Hmm.
So there was a lot of interesting kills that came out of that, and a lot of people were like, "Oh my God, I'm so upset that you didn't make it on the poster." I'm like, actually, I'm on the poster. That intestine is mine.
So part of you made it in, yeah. This one reminds me of a few things. The trailer reminded me of, I think, wasn't it Jason before the hockey mask? He had just this thing over his head, kind of like this, So
Yeah, I think
that
so.
reminded me of Jason, the very first Friday the 13th. And then this also, for some reason, it reminded me of The Hills Have Eyes, like this strange
Yeah.
family of killer weirdos, you know?
Yeah, it's super creepy. It was super intense and it was just amazing. The group of actors, it just bravo. They were so
Yeah, it
good.
looks like a good cast. It looked like a
It was
good
really
and
good.
fun cast.
We all
Yeah.
jived really well together. So it was a great cast in the house. We had so much fun.
I guess it was better experience than some of your previous ones that didn't go so well. So that's good, right?
Yeah. Well,
Since
the
you get
one
some
that
balance.
the last one was good until it wasn't, you know. I was there for 6 weeks and I was only supposed to be there for 72 more hours. And so like I really like that was kind of the most heartbreaking thing was to kind of make it to home stretch like that and get that far and then be kind of disappointed like that. Like it was just insane. But but that's not part of my makeup to accept something like that. You know what I mean? Especially not being a part of it, that I was so in depth in part of it. Um, but it's up to the production and up to the new investors what they want to do with the remaining scenes for that, and hopefully they recover it because it's we put a lot of work into it. So, and it's easily recovered. It's only the last couple little things we have to do. So it's more about cooperation and respect. I'm a female in the industry, and that's really hard for a couple people to take into consideration. But it's unfortunate. I got to put my foot down here and there and be the mother,
Yeah,
and so
I've seen women incredibly mistreated in some of these kind of projects, and it's unfortunate, you know. But I think that attitudes towards that kind of stuff is really changing, and women are
yeah,
getting a bigger voice because it looks like a lot of the old boys club stuff and casting couch crap and stuff like that is going away, and it has
yeah,
to. It has
it
to.
is,
I
it
mean,
is, and what isn't being talked about. That's what's going on, is that a lot of people aren't coming out of this. A lot of actresses, I mean, much like myself, like it sucks to be blacklisted because you're talking about the misbehaviors behind the scenes. And so that's a risk you have to be willing to take when you're calling people out for their bad behavior, which I'm going to every single time. There's not going to be a time that
yeah.
I'm not going to play
Rachel's
victim.
not shy of telling people what she thinks, though. But I like that. I like that about you. And you're fierce and
Thank
you're
you.
bold, and you're not afraid to like tell it like it is. And sometimes you have to. Like you're not
Yeah,
gonna.
if it can
Why
save
would you
somebody
be
else the
Yeah, and why would you be mistreated as an actress or just as a person when there's other people that are doing projects that would treat you with respect and dignity that you deserve? You
Yeah,
know.
exactly. So that's my play right now, is to find people that are serious about making movies and making projects and passionate. And again, in the indie world, we tend to have to, cohabitate, and that's something I really am kind of going to nip in the bud. Like I want to take a tour bus to people from now on and kind of just be on my own and just have my own space. It's difficult to be around people all the time, 100% of the time. And I had 77 people on that set in 4 weeks.
Wow.
So
Wow.
it was
Yeah,
a
that's crazy. Yeah, and
very short
for those
period.
that don't know, Rachel has a converted school bus. That's
Yeah.
interesting. A
Thank
school
you.
bus that is converted into an RV that she lovingly, little bit by, kind of like my cabin, little pieces by little pieces, put this incredible school bus together. Do you live there, or is it like parked
I don't
outside?
live
Or
there. I don't live there. I turned it into a B&B for a short time, and just
cool.
to kind of, I had some issues. Again, I had my stalker that was local that came off the set from Oklahoma. I had to kind of seek safety after a while, because I feared for my safety. Unfortunately, I could only get a piece of paper in between me and this individual who frightens the hell out of me. So it was
I'm sorry to hear
scary
that.
for me. Yeah, I had to like give up my dream home because of it, but it's only for a short time, like I will find that again and everything will be okay. But for a short period of time, I felt my safety was in danger, and I just wanted to make sure that, I kind of took the measures to hide.
Yeah, and I don't blame you because you know, people can be obsessive and weird and crazy. And, I see it and I'm not female. I'm sure that for females, it's sometimes worse. Some of these guys get like, just obsessed, right, with every little
Mhm.
thing that you're doing, and then it could turn into a dangerous situation very quickly. I think I get harmless crazy people. They're not gonna
Yeah.
they're not gonna they're not gonna come to my home or anything. They're just gonna send me 800 emails, or something like
Yeah. Well,
that,
I
or
think when this
messages, or
guy, right. Well, I think when this guy paid to be my boyfriend, he took it mentally that he was my boyfriend. That like
oh
he,
wow, I didn't know it was that guy.
yeah, it was that guy. Like it's so bad. Like, and some people are like, so what did you do to deserve this? I'm like, I never held his hand. I never touched him. I never kissed him. I never like, I'll show you the messages between him and I. I'm like, look, buddy, we're just friends. Like there's never going to be anything between us, like anything ever. And he was writing to like my producer when they were writing him into the story for his $6,000 donation. And he was saying stuff like, am I going to have any love making scenes with Rachel? And like all this crazy crap.
Yeah,
I'm
like
like,
he was trying to
no.
negotiate. What is he getting for his $6,000, right?
Yeah.
Yeah,
And I
that's
just wasn't sure
terrible.
what that whole thing was all about. Well, they wound up writing Honey Voodoo in the story without a boyfriend. Because once they met me and they actually got to know my personality, they were like, this girl probably wouldn't have a boyfriend. Like it just wouldn't, like, I'm a tough girl, like my persona is not one that they had originated. The character was supposed to be like beaten up by her boyfriend and stuff, and then kind of they gave me like this badass vibe where I was kind of like,
I remember seeing some of the pictures where you were like supposed to be a badass, and I thought that fits her pretty well, right?
yeah, and
And we do have men here offering to be your boyfriend, but I just want to clarify because every guy that watches this show is going to be asking me later, like, you're engaged now, right? Or weren't you?
no, I'm not engaged. No, I'm single, but
Oh, I thought that you did get engaged. Am I wrong? Maybe I'm
no,
thinking
I
of
get
another.
engaged like once a year just to keep things fresh.
And then you boot him to the curb and get a new one. That's a
It's
good
just,
plan.
yeah, no, it's like the kiss of death when somebody asks me that. I'm like, okay, no, I just, like, how I am about my personal space. I'm going to live on a school bus for the rest of my life. So,
I want to live in a cabin, so there's that. I understand
yeah,
that
it's
need to.
perfect.
It's great. Just this feeling of like, let's just go escape, right?
Yeah. Yeah. That's my favorite. Like, if you don't like your neighbors, you can just leave.
Yeah, I like the mobile thing because where I'm at, I can't just drive my cabin, someplace else, right?
Well, I mean,
You have a definite
technology.
advantage.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely. I love it. I was actually thinking about getting a double decker like they have in over
that
in the
would be my
UK.
plan. If I ever do a bus, I want a double decker so it really is plenty of living space. Because I've seen there's some on YouTube that guys have done that, and it's amazing.
Oh
You have
yeah,
room
they
for
they they cut the roof
bedrooms and
down. Yeah, they
mhm.
cut the roof down to I think there's a standard bridge size that you don't want to
Yeah.
go for.
You got to be careful going under bridges once you have a double decker for sure.
Yeah, in America, our bridges are a lot lower, so you have to be really careful. But I've seen people mod their buses and mod them. I'm really looking forward to getting my hands dirty doing that over the spring. And I was thinking about filming it since last time I got so much interest.
Yeah.
And
Yeah, I have the same interest in my cabin, and I keep saying I'm going to start filming projects, but it's just so hard because I'm there by myself to build something and worry about cameras. Then I have to edit it, or yeah. So I take a lot of pictures and I share that way because
yeah,
there's a huge interest in this sort of thing because everybody is sick of this place and all want to escape, right?
yeah. I started my bus account out like with a like a name without a face, really. Like it was more just like all the bus. And I didn't
Hmm.
let anybody know it was me doing the bus. I was just kind of like, hey, this is like the bus account. And then eventually people got interested in the spiritual, like, wanderer aspect of things. And some people wanted to know more about what I was doing with the gypsy bus. And so I started kind of letting everybody know it was me in there. And I got a couple offers to have people film me while I was doing the bus, but I'm like, I was so gross. Like I was like sanding the buttons all yellow. I'm like,
Yeah,
nobody
I
wants to
know.
see this.
Yeah, I know something about that too. I always feel like I look like a homeless person when I'm at the cabin. I have my dirt clothes, like my cemented up jeans with paint and stain all over
Me
them and
too.
garbage. I'm
They
in
look
total.
so
If
bad.
I'm working on the cabin, I am in total slob mode, and I don't really want to be filmed.
Yeah, I'm
Yeah.
like, I'm not walking around in my bikini, like, like I'm not, my hair's not done. I
They'd
don't look
probably get
cute.
better ratings if you did it that way, though,
Oh
right?
yeah, and like,
There
oh
actually is in the off-grid, like YouTube world. There's a big backlash now because a lot of off-grid channels, guys are doing things like every thumbnail is a picture of his wife's butt or bust. And then the real off-grid channels are so pissed at those people because they're getting huge views. I
yeah,
mean, these things sell. That's it's clickbait, right?
I'll just wear safety goggles, like, and nothing else. Like,
Yeah,
oh, please,
safety goggles and a bikini. I'm sanding the bust today.
I'm
You
just
know,
using a grinder, just the eye safety is all that matters here. That'd be awful.
this is the kind of YouTube channel that I would do if I was a woman. I'm sure of it. I
Well,
would just.
I did some during the storm last year on my Schooly Foley account. There's a picture of me in the snowstorm in a bikini.
I remember
'Cause
that one. Yeah.
I was trying to be funny. I was trying to be funny. It was funny, like, actually, as long as you keep your feet warm, and my bus stays so warm because it's so cozy. You know what I mean? It's such a small
Yeah.
space,
Yeah.
and it was just like blazing hot in there. But if you wear moon boots and a bikini and you just go in
Go
and
out in the
out real
snow for a
fast,
few minutes and make some pictures for people. Sure.
yeah,
And,
that's
and,
it.
and
That's
yeah,
it.
it
But there was
seems
a
surreal
blizzard.
because there's snow everywhere and you're standing there in the bikini. Like it seems
Yeah,
pretty
it's hard to
surreal.
believe.
Yeah, and Six's Design is sharing the IMDb page for you,
Thank you.
featuring Rachel Hoffman. Yeah, proud of you. I'm glad that I remember when we talked before. You said like, I'm going to give this thing a real serious try, and I've been
Hmm.
watching and going, well, she keeps on swinging. I'll give her that. Like you keep on going and trying to get into more projects and stuff like that, right?
Yeah, thank you. I'm trying to put on the director hat now and take over with the filming. And I have a little crew that's going to be with me. And instead, like I said, I'm going to take the trip to people so that I can do these little series filming. It keeps it more personal for people too. And then, like, they have no excuse not to show up. I'm like, I'm here in your neighborhood.
Yeah.
So it's perfect. I have a lot of enthusiastic actors that are very excited, and we have 38 episodes that we're going to be filming. So lots of behind the scenes stuff. And then we are right now kind of figuring out who wants to purchase it because, I have my affiliates in television. And so people are looking at it and like making their little offers and stuff. But there's quite a few episodes that I plan on filming before I delve into that. But that'll be exciting to see it on TV.
And what is it all going to be about? Like you're going to do that many episodes?
Yeah, it's going to be on a weekly basis, basically, and it's going to be the victims get their turn to come back and drag their assailants to hell.
Oh,
So,
like sort of like The Crow. I like that idea.
yeah, it's like a little spin-off. So it'd be like if Lisa Levy could come back and drag Ted Bundy to hell.
That's very interesting. And people are asking more about your hunting ghosts, so maybe we can get more into that. I know that you've been busy with the movies, but are you still have an intense interest in ghosts and ghost hunting and the paranormal investigation side of things? Have you been
Yeah.
doing very much with that?
Yes. So in between this, I'm filming a true crime series. And what I'm doing is I have gotten together with Marlon Yu from Boston, and he's also all over the map with paranormal. And we are going to be doing a show called The Paranormal Ride. And it's going to
Oh, that's
be kind of,
interesting.
yeah, it's a lot of fun. Like, I am so excited about traveling and going to see the different ghosts in everybody's town. First thing I ask is, I'm like, what's haunted? What's abandoned?
Yeah. Where's the haunted house around here?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So I'm excited. I know that America has so many different treasure troves. And so whilst going from filming to filming, behind the scenes, you'll be seeing, me with my fluffy hair and PJs on, and then going out ghost hunting and everything. So I'm going to be pretty raw with it so that people can see what it's like. Sometimes we spend like 14 hours out there and get like one EVP, so it's a slow process.
Yeah,
It's
it
a,
is definitely a slow process. We started doing EVPs and I got so bored of listening for hours and hours to hear did we get anything? You know, it's very tedious to me.
You know what
But
I
we had
do?
some
I
interesting.
do burst sessions, so only 5 minutes at a time. Like
Maybe
I'll
that's a better
do,
way to do it. Yeah.
yeah, it works because if you're running cameras, you're going to catch some audio no matter what you do. Actually, I've caught some really great audio, Class A EVPs and things on video that it's just like,
Ooh,
you're
that's
like
interesting.
you're watching the audio and all of a sudden there's this like roller coaster ride on the audio, but you don't hear it, you see it, and then you take it and you kind of quarantine it and then stretch it out and it's got this whole voice. And a lot of the stuff that I did at the Middleborough Town Hall were these clips of voices and they all came from my camera.
Wow. And do you think though? I always wanted to ask somebody that was more on the ghost side of things because we cover UFOs mostly here, and but a lot of people seem to think that there is a connection, that it's all one phenomenon really: Bigfoot, ghosts, demons, UFOs, cryptid creatures that people are seeing, shadow people, and things like that. Do you think it's all related?
Yeah, I'm a big believer in quantum entanglement. And so
Oh, there you go. That'll explain a lot of things, right?
yeah, it's basically like that spider web and it leaks in from string to string and it's bigger than us. It's so much bigger than us that it's hard to wrap your head around how a Bigfoot creature could be a spiritual, soulful creature and how it could be related in any way to that paranormal phenomenon. But I notice a lot of places that have this phenomenon don't just have one, like for instance, the Bridgewater Triangle. It's a
Yeah.
240-mile perimeter of the most haunted happenings in
And there's
that.
also Bigfoot sightings and there's also UFO sightings, all in the same triangle of space, which is
Right.
bizarre to me. Yeah.
And it's also, I've been out there a multitude of times. I spent a summer out there
Oh,
and
wow. Really? Did you see anything?
I saw everything.
Oh,
There
wow.
was,
You got to tell us about it. We got to break this down. What did you see?
so I went out there at first and I was really excited. I started hearing things that people said were like Bigfoot noises. And I'm like, okay, so here's what I'm looking for because the cryptozoology aspect was something that was very new to me at the time. I was just beginning in the paranormal and I have my own personal experiences with ghosts and aliens, but this was a different species now. So, and people are like, it's very kindred, it's very nice. So I'm like, okay, well, I'm not super worried about running into it if it's going to be like cool with me, you know? And so we went out into the Bridgewater Triangle area and I started hearing these noises. But then someone in the group was like, aren't there black bears out here? So we were like
Yeah.
in black bear country. So being able to tell those signs from an animal I was freaked out by by the idea of being attacked by a bear. So
I had a bear come very close to me at my cabin and it was terrifying.
oh
I
my
got
God.
between, I didn't realize it, but I got between a cub and the mom. And me, like a dummy, I'm taking pictures and getting closer and
Oh
closer.
my God,
And
me
then the,
too.
the cub came out of the woods, like out of some brush I didn't see, right in front of me, like 2 feet in front of me. And the mom was 10 or 15 feet from me and the cub. She went up on her hind legs and started running at me. But luckily she stopped as soon as she got to the cub and I ran, but
Oh
it
my,
gave me a new respect. We see bears all the time at my cabin. All the time we see them. But generally, I have an air horn and a siren, and when they hear that loud noise or you bang on some pots or make a
yeah.
lot of noise, they go away.
I
But
didn't have
yeah,
anything. I didn't have any pots on me or nothing. So I was like, I'm out of here. I'm freaking out of here. I lost like a recorder and a flashlight. I just went because nature's not predictable. It's not like
yeah,
you can be like, okay, well, this is what's going to happen if I go out there. Like, so I wound up going out there safely, for the rest of the time. And I generally stayed in my car because there's a huge perimeter out there that you can go, do the ghost hunting and everything. You don't have to be far from your vehicle. Now,
yeah.
a
And
lot of that
I
area,
don't feel safe in a tent when there's bears in the area. I just don't feel
no,
safe in a tent. No, I'd rather be in the car. At least there's something between you and a
some
bear.
coverage. Yeah.
Yeah,
So,
yeah.
and also a lot of those places in that area, in the New Bedford area, we were going there for like true crime. So it's a high crime area. Like there's women's bodies are being dumped back there, which is heavily the interest of why we're there, to talk to and communicate with the females that had lost their lives back there. And so we're back there, we're talking to these women, and people are like creepy, and they're walking by and they're coming by. Like there's a lot to be fearful of in our realm of reality. Like really, it's a scary world out there.
Yeah, very brave to be in those areas, because for all you know, the killer is still out there.
Yeah,
and
you never know. Like these are unsolved murders. These are things that haven't been solved. Generally, what I noticed was their lineup of women in that area were prostitutes or people that were easily accessible. And people will make up excuses in their own brain to attack a woman. And there were a few people that were indicated that they weren't streetwalkers. They weren't doing, they weren't out there like doing risky behaviors and things like that. And I'm not saying anybody is deserving of any type of behavior like that, but when you're out there, you're more likely to run into somebody that's a little creepy,
I could
So
imagine, yeah. And a lot of serial killers have targeted these marginalized women, like prostitutes or drug addicts, because they're easier prey, and
right.
it gives them an in. Like a prostitute will get in your car and you can
Yeah.
drive away with her. A regular woman, if you try to get her in your car, probably wouldn't, if she didn't know you, get in your car for most, So yeah, these serial killers tend to target. I watch a lot of true crime. They really do target those kind of women.
Mhm.
And it's a shame, but a lot of times these kind of women, there's just not the same importance. I mean, like look at
Yeah.
this Gabby Petito. If she had been just some random prostitute, there's no way that murder would have gotten the national coverage that it did.
Right. And I've seen it myself, and it's unfortunate. And there have been, I mean, these women are so deserving. And part of my true crime flight in the future is kind of letting people know who the victims are and talking about, the prolific cases that we see before us, like Albert Fish, Ted Bundy, and Gacy and things like that. We know these men, but we don't know their victims. We really don't. We need to start picking that apart really, and hearing more about what they were about, what their favorite cereal was, what they wanted to be when they grew up. Like they
Yeah, it
spent
just becomes a body count, right? It just becomes a body
yeah,
count. Like, oh, this is one of Ted Bundy's 27 victims, or whatever the case may be. And it
right.
becomes
And
all
you
about the
spend
killer.
one day dying, like one day of your life you spend being killed by someone. So the rest of your life has been tossed to the wind,
So
So
you're out there where the dump sites were for some of these women, and what are you trying to do? You're trying to communicate with the ghosts and see if you can get some details about the killer to maybe help the police or help bring
yeah,
them
I
some
work
kind of
with
justice, because that seems very righteous to me. Way to
yeah,
spend your time.
I worked with the police on the New Bedford highway murders after they had, like a while after they had expired from the news. And the one of the girls identified her killer a year before her body was exhumed. And she identified him like by his street name. And I actually won a Chicago Paranormal Film Festival award because of that. Like, because she was screaming to me from beyond the grave, like, and she told me who killed her. It's
Oh, that's very
amazing.
interesting. Yeah,
Yeah.
this is a famous case. March 1988 and April 1999. The killer was also women. Yeah, they often don't start with murder. They often start with rape or some form of sexual assault, but then they graduate to the murder. Oftentimes after they've already gotten a conviction for some form of sexual assault, because then they do a sexual assault and don't want to be caught. You know,
Yep.
yeah,
And I think that this guy had access to all these women. That area out there is like Cape Cod, Rhode Island, Boston area. It's very easy to access all of them. And there they are. And they were calling, like, if you look them up online, I have Blood, Sweat, and Fear from Paranormal Expeditions. And you can see these women calling their own name from beyond the grave, like letting me know who they are.
wow, that's pretty interesting. And so, were you able to provide the police with some insight that maybe they wouldn't have gotten otherwise?
it wasn't really anything that I did, but I did inform them that this had happened. I had worked with the police because I wanted to know more about the women personally. Like they had seen them before they had just passed away. Like one of the officers that I had worked with was there when each one of these women were discovered, but also he was there while they were being arrested for prostitution, while they were, like in DARE programs. They grew up around the local area. So he was affiliated with them, as human beings, you know what I mean? Like not just, they weren't just a name in the paper. So he was working side by side with me, and it helped me to communicate with them because I knew things that would, that would entice them to speak with me.
Sorry, this is your page here for Paranormal Expeditions, which I follow, and I encourage everybody else to. I'm a terrible show host and forgot to put it in there, but I will be putting this in the. Boy, that looks like a haunted house. That looks like a haunted, abandoned house. Can you tell us a little bit about this location that you checked out?
Yeah, we went across different areas, and we went to the sites for abandoned Georgia, and we went through and made sure we were good to go. As long as it's not private property around that area, they allow you to go into the buildings that are, abandoned. So we found a few on the outskirts of Georgia, and I spent like 2 or 3 weeks scouting, and it was really fun and really interesting. And again, those buildings hold so much energy, So it was a long time. I was there for 6 weeks.
Yeah, and here we see some of the promo for the Go Straight to Hell film, which hopefully will still be coming, right?
Yes, yeah, definitely. I'm just talking to the people about cleaning up the last 3 days and getting it out there and getting it promoted. And in the meantime, to quench people's thirst, I'll be hitting up the series and getting it out on a weekly basis. I just haven't decided what platform to use yet.
Well, that's interesting. Yeah, because now there's an awful lot more choices than there used to be.
Yeah,
right?
and I need to make sure it's liberal and it maintains the freedom, because we have nudity and swearing and, all the fun stuff that makes horror, like the gritty, grimy stuff that we really enjoy from B movies.
Yeah.
So we don't have to worry as much about
these things kind of go hand in hand. Like I said,
Yeah.
I called you a scream queen, and there have been just so many women that have been like, very attractive women in horror movies. These two things go together, right?
Mm-hmm.
I think they do.
I think so too. I mean, I know even as a younger girl, I started watching.
Here's you in a bathtub full of blood. That's a great shot. Look at that. See, now you guys know why I follow this. Her page is crazy. You never know what she's gonna post. Like one day she's posting her like with an axe, all bloody. The next day it's like her in a bathtub full of blood. Look, this is the isolation chamber in the Eastern State. Notice our friend there. It's a crawl space. I was crouching the same way as him through the doors. There are rumors the prisoners were kept here for too long and have never left. This is some isolation room from a prison.
Yeah, it's the isolation chamber at Eastern State Pen where Al Capone passed away.
Yeah, that's very, very interesting.
I was one of the last people that took a picture of his room fully functional. They've since torn the room down. I'm not sure what they did to replace some of the items, but I think that it switched hands, so switched owners as far as the facility went. But I'm pretty sure
they run a huge haunted house every year there.
Oh yeah, is that what they do?
Yeah, I think so. Unless I'm wrong.
I didn't go during the season. I wound up going. I think it was like the summertime or.
No, this is the Eastern State Penitentiary is just a few miles from where I grew up, so I'm very familiar with it. I had a like a senior moment there for a minute and went, am I thinking of a different place, or is this a place near my house? And no, this is definitely the place where I grew up.
Yeah.
Interestingly, I once tried to do a music video there, and they wouldn't let me. So after that, I didn't like them anymore. Well, insurance and this, they wanted a lot of money for me to film there for one day, and I just said, yeah, it's not worth it. But it's an interesting, crazy place. Here's a picture of Eastern State Penitentiary, former prison, and it's the biggest haunted house attraction in Philadelphia. At least it was every year. For a while, I was driving Uber, and I hated the month of October because all I did was ferry people back and forth from Jersey to Eastern State and back, and things like that. But I guess should be thankful for that. But it's interesting and has an amazing history, and they do tours and they do these haunted house thing every year, and you can
They
go
really
there.
and they let us just walk around when we went there. And then I think that we did like some donation or something, to keep the doors open. They have to maintain the facility. And so I think that they just asked their guests to give a donation. I don't even think that they set a price, which is really great. So if you're down there,
Yeah, and
there's a lot to do.
the owners have changed hands a few times. So back when I was trying to make a music video, it might have been a different owner that wasn't so kind to visitors and interested, ghost hunters and things like that. But
Yeah,
it's just an amazing building that looks like a castle. I remember being a kid and we would ride our bikes around there, and it just
it does. It does. It
to
looks like
us
a
it was a
castle.
castle. Yeah, it was a castle. Look at that. That's a
It
castle
does.
when
It's
especially when you're a kid.
beautiful and it's haunting. And I went down to Death Row and I was filming down there. I caught some EVPs down in that arena. Have you been down in that little area?
I've been all over this building inside. Usually when they had the ghost tours, we would go and you see most of the facility, but some of it is like sectioned off. So I may not have seen all that you saw. So I'm jealous.
I took a lot of pictures and I started taking pictures of the art that was in the art that was made by the people that were on death row with
Yeah, look at
like,
this barber's chair. There's just a barber chair in the middle of this crumbling mess, right?
yeah. Did you
It's so
see the
bizarre.
debris that was in the wall? They had
Yeah,
like a cat, the mummified cat.
yeah. There's all kinds of weird stuff and weird stories with this facility too. There's legends from the local neighborhood of it being haunted and things like that.
I
I mean,
think they found like a bunch of species of like bugs and different things like that.
sure looks haunted. Yeah, look at this. That's a castle. It
It
looks like a
really is.
haunted castle. Yeah. Unfortunately, the outside is much nicer looking than the inside. The inside is basically crumbling, but maybe they're letting it crumble a little bit because it adds to the character of the whole legend of the place being so haunted. But I
Yeah,
do know that in some of the history, there was a lot of claims of people being tortured in there, the prisoners being tortured or mistreated and dying in the holding cells and things like that.
there's Al Capone's room.
There's Al Capone. Al Capone spent some time there, and there is his famous room in Eastern State Penitentiary. Very, very interesting. And yeah, we see this. This is what stands out in my memory most about being inside this sort of hallway, because there's a bunch of them. It goes in a square almost, as I recall, and there's
Yeah,
all these different cells, and the largely all of the like the bars and the former prison stuff is still there, but there's just empty cells everywhere, and it's kind of like the walls are crumbling in on you. It did, to my recollection, it had a very, I don't want to say like I'm no psychic, but it felt very ominous in there. It just felt very ominous, like I was someplace I wasn't supposed to be almost, or something like that.
yeah.
So did you pick up a lot of ghost activity there, and do you feel that this place is haunted?
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Yeah. I felt it through the hallways. I mean, there was the surgical rooms that we were there. Like some of the tour was given to us, or we would have never, like, never would have even known like what half the stuff was. But there's surgical rooms and, like you said, the dental office area. There's another medical area. And then the areas where the holding cells were for death row were, oh God, like it was basically like you've crossed the line and there's no going back. Like you're never going back. Like, and it was really difficult. And especially as we know now, there are some people that were on death row that weren't deserving of being on death row. And we just really didn't
Absolutely.
have the power to change that. Like it's a very strange system. Um, And so I went down there, and they have the pictures of the inmates that were on death row. And the pictures that they have are creepy as hell, because it's like the inmates like eating lunch. Like, what the hell? Why would you put
Yeah.
that there? Like, they're eating lunch and like living. And like, so to see that is disturbing, you know? Yeah, it was like it was all their meals basically on the my roommate's chiming in. He's like their last meal. It was their last bunch of meals. They were like in a mess hall, and it's
Wow,
them
that's
like,
creepy.
yeah, and it's the old prison style scally caps and stuff that they were wearing, and it was like, it was just super like, whoa.
Yeah.
Like you
So
could picture them in their life almost, but it was so creepy.
we had some questions from the live chat. I think somebody asked if you had some of those EVPs that you could play us, but I don't think that you're really prepared for that. Maybe you can get some to us and we can do that on another show.
Oh
Play some of
yeah,
that stuff.
definitely. I might have them on YouTube. So if you look up Paranormal Expeditions videos on YouTube, and the E is missing from Expedition, so it's Paranormal
Yeah,
Expeditions.
X with the X. I'm aware of that. Yeah.
And so there's a lot on there. I have stuff from Lorraine Warren's Occult Museum. I have stuff from basically Eastern State, Waverly. I've been all over the place, but this specific one I think is on YouTube because I ran across it not too long ago, and recalled like listening to it and being like, oh my gosh, like,
And again, I'm a terrible, terrible show host. I will put the link for Rachel's Paranormal Expeditions in the About section as soon as I get a chance, because she's got all of these videos here with ghost hunting and her paranormal expeditions, right?
Yeah, there's a lot.
And there's
A
true
lot.
crime. Look, you have Haunted Acres here. Oh, you got a UFO sighting there.
Yep, we all had a UFO sighting. It's crazy. Yeah, it's a crazy experience when you have a bunch of paranormal investigators together and you're on like a 3-story ship, and then all of a sudden you're like, okay, well, can't deny what we're seeing in the sky,
Yeah, look at this. All things haunted. This is creepy.
Yeah, that's Lorraine Warren's occult museum when it was up and
I would
running.
have loved to have seen that. I would
Yeah,
have loved to have seen that.
that was when Annabelle was still in the museum.
Ooh, my new hair looks cool in the night vision.
Yeah, it does. Looks really shiny.
I gotta have the night vision cameras for a ghost show.
Okay, Shelton, I see the sign. Shelton.
Yeah, we were driving now. We're driving this week. That was the drive to Lorraine Warren's house.
She was an interesting lady. I would love to have gotten to know her and talk to her.
I spent a lot of time with her, and she took me over to her husband's grave on this night. So if you, I don't know, I think we have it in the video.
She's already dropping things.
Wow.
Yeah, it was really exciting. So here's the hallway to the actual place. So people don't realize the Annabelle doll is just one of the many things in Lorraine.
Yeah, they've got a whole bunch. They've got a whole bunch of stuff in there, right?
Oh my gosh, yeah. There's the vampire's grave that creeped me out worse than anything in here. And then there's the White Lady Bride. The bones that were found in this like huge statue in the woods. It's so creepy.
You're telling your friend, don't touch anything. I'm just going to turn this down a little bit because we're talking over it. So
yeah, so there's
and
some
for
of the
those
stuff.
who don't know, that this is what The Conjuring was all based on. This couple that were paranormal investigators, and they've collected over their career all these haunted, cursed items. Yeah, there they go.
There's Lorraine and Ed.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so a lot of people don't know like that she's the lady from Annabelle and The Conjuring and things. So she was our friend, you know what I mean? Like we were going over there eating spaghetti dinners with her, and she was amazing. I have a bunch of interviews with her actually. The night the night The Conjuring came out, she sat down with me at an Italian restaurant and gave us the time of day and told us all about her experiences.
Girl likes spaghetti dinners, I guess.
She did. She really did. She was a very traditional lady. And to be honest with you, in the end, the only thing she really cared about were her roosters. Like she had roosters running around her house, which you might hear in the background of this
That's interesting,
video.
Yeah.
My friend brought her cross because she was like super scared of everything. And so you can see it's super creepy in there. She has many, many items that just, you would think that that would be creepier. They found human bones in some of these.
Yeah, some of those totems that the
So
Satanists and
yeah,
devil
these,
worshippers would use have human
and you
bones
can
in them.
see the pictures of the people that right there had human bones in it.
Oh, that's bizarro. And do
Yeah,
you
it
know
really is.
what happened to all of these items and to the Annabelle? Because I haven't caught up for quite some time.
So Tony Spera is Lorraine Warren's
Brother-in-law
son-in-law.
or son-in-law, yeah.
Yeah, and so that's Judy's husband, and he right now has the Annabelle doll on tour, doing like an all things haunted type of tour with her. Which I'm not sure how Lorraine Warren would really feel about that, to be honest with you. She really didn't want the doll moved from that location or talked about or really anything. But so
Yeah, and
I mean,
didn't they used to have a priest come in every so often, like every month or something,
she had a
and
priest living in her
bless.
back. Yeah, actually he lived in her backyard about 20 feet back. Like he had his own house
But he would come and bless these items to
every
try to
day.
keep the evil forces in them contained, or
Every
right?
day he'd be there every day. And Lorraine's Catholic and she was raised Catholic and she was raised by
So was
nuns,
I.
and
Yeah, so was I.
so very very strict, very taboo to be talking about things in the paranormal at all.
Yeah, we were taught growing up that it's all from the devil, and to even talk about it, it's inviting evil into your life. So interesting where I ended up in life after being told that my whole childhood, even to the
Right.
point of, we couldn't have a Ouija board, we couldn't have any books on the subject. I once got in a lot of trouble with my father because I had books on witchcraft and ghosts and demons, and that I just that's Catholicism. I think that
And
they don't want. I mean, there may be something to their belief that it's all from evil, and you shouldn't mess with these forces because it's inviting evil forces, right?
right.
And
I agree.
how do you feel about this stuff? Do you worry about some of the stuff that you do might be dangerous to you from a spiritual perspective, or you know you
Yeah,
could get
definitely.
possessed, or
Yeah,
right?
I've had things follow me home. I've been physically affected, emotionally affected. When I was on the Travel Channel with Zach Bagans, I had a physical, emotional, spiritual reaction on film, and you could see me like shaking. And it was during the premiere episode of the Paranormal Challenge. And when a ghost ran through my body, and he ran through my body, and his like his nightgown was flapping, like, and he ran through me, and like it was cold already, but it was like ice went through my heart, and he was screaming, and I was supposed to not say that talk to the camera people. I was like, turn the camera around, turn it around, there's somebody running towards me. So I've been affected. I have gone to a shaman to have spirits removed from me, and I we in the paranormal call it a paranormal hangover. It's like a 3 day after you
I've heard
visit.
that term. I've heard that term before from somebody else that told me that after they spend, a weekend at a haunted location, they still feel some after effects for several days. And I should just mention that some people can be very critical of me, and like, I didn't ask this question or that question. I'm not very familiar with ghosts and demons and ghost hunting, so I'm relying on Rachel here to inform us more, because I'm not this is not my wheelhouse, but we're trying to bring in more experts and more people with these crazy experiences. And you've had you've had this an incredible amount of experiences. Do you think that you are more sensitive to these spirits and demons and energies than say I would be, or more aware?
I'm definitely aware. I don't have a Richter scale to know like how sensitive the next person might be, because there are people that can't even go into or around the paranormal. Like I consider that very sensitive in itself, or they can't talk about it. They're fearful of it. Um, so I'm sensitive by way of being open and being like allowing the experience to happen. But I know that that there's been times where I'm completely overwhelmed by everything. Like it's a lot. Like you go to a place where somebody's killed themselves, you go to a place where somebody's been killed, and it's like you relive the last moments of their life for a very short period. It takes your breath away. And these people are sisters and mothers, and I'm a mother and I'm a sister. And, like it just really hits home when you're on an investigation and a ghost says something about their child from beyond the grave. When you ask what they have to say, what they have any last words, like they're
Yeah. So
screaming
as
their
a parent
children's name.
yourself, that's got to affect you, right?
There's Annabelle. Yes, that does affect me.
Yeah. And what a lot of people don't know is that it's not what they depict in the movie. It's like a Raggedy Ann and Andy doll, right?
Yeah. And see how fast we went over her. I mean, she was a big deal, but like there was other things there that were a really big deal, like also. So people pick and choose what they like for, what they find scary for the paranormal. And some people are very afraid of dolls. She had, been responsible for deaths and things. So there was a natural fear of her because there were deaths attached to her story.
Do you know? Do you know how did Lorraine and Ed, I suppose, while I was still alive, how did they feel about the Hollywood versions of their story? Because I felt like they started off like pretty accurate, and it seems like they're just getting more and more
Bizarre.
fantastical, bizarre, made up that had very little to do with their actual experiences. Like they take you know, one little thing that happened to them, and they
Blow
now
it up for
there's
Hollywood.
now there's
Yeah.
demons, and there's a priest that has a demon daughter, or a daughter that's worshiping demons.
Yeah.
Secret, and that none of that was real. Like I checked
No,
into
and
some of that.
in my interview with Lorraine, she's so innocent and so sweet. Um, she talks about it. She talks about what was not real, and she was laughing about what wasn't real, and just talking about little things that Hollywood added to the story. And she would whisper into the camera, like she would whisper, like as if the world wouldn't hear her if she was whispering. It was just adorable. But yeah, no,
Because
she
like
told the
even this, the depiction. I'm sorry to interrupt you.
no,
The depiction of Annabelle in the Hollywood movies is like a creepy ventriloquist girl doll,
yes,
or like porcelain doll that looks extremely evil and creepy.
mm-hmm,
Whereas the reality is that this is like a Raggedy Ann doll that is not at all creepy or imposing. It looks like a toy that any little girl would have, right?
right, yes, no, I agree with you 100%.
Yeah, I don't know that last one I saw. I can't remember which one it was, but it was about the nun and the priest.
Yeah,
Back in
those
the
are very
day.
embellished, very
Yeah.
embellished, if at all real. Yeah, they could be finding a lot more interesting factoids about the Warrens if they really dug into the whole thing. But honestly, like people are just they want to go complete Hollywood sometimes with these stories. So
Well, I understand it's Hollywood. You got to dramatize things, but I think I don't know. For me, I would rather. I suppose what I should say is I would rather see a 2-hour documentary with facts and Lorraine Warren recounting her experiences, her real experiences, and Ed recounting their real experiences than a fictionalized story where they tacked on all kinds of extra drama that didn't really happen. But they're still
right, well, you
enjoyable,
can you
though.
can watch my stuff then, because mine's all real.
Yeah, we're gonna
Mine
try.
Mine's
Yeah.
all real, yeah. And I go through each one of the items and talk about like every one of them. Kind of give the backstory. We we were listening to lectures on some of the items beforehand, so really beautiful. Like that's really beautiful. I mean, it's so gorgeous. There's so many
I
of
have
them.
I have that book, Mastering Witchcraft. That's by Paul
Hmm.
Hewson. That's a very famous book on witchcraft written in, I believe, in the late 1960s, and it's largely responsible for popularizing witchcraft in both England and the United States. And I probably have
Hmm.
this one too, and I can't really make out the other one, but it's interesting that they have some books on display. You got to know the subject, even if you're Catholic and think it's all evil, I suppose, right?
Yeah, and a lot of these things were gifted to the Warrens from other people that didn't want them because they were afraid of,
Mhm.
you know, they were afraid of the item. They knew that it held some kind of a dark force. And so
My
you'll
father
watch
believed
on,
that. He burnt my books when I was a kid. He burnt them.
oh
Threw out in the
gosh,
backyard and burnt them because he thought there was evil. Even in the pages of a book, there was evil forces because of the things that were in the book. They might be inhabited by dark or evil spirits. So he would burn stuff.
I don't blame him. Like there's a lot of things that would scare the hell out of me too if you didn't know better, you know. But a lot of
Hmm.
times now we know not to burn things. We know to bury them or to give them
Bind
to
them,
somebody
right?
like Lorraine.
Yeah. So they would like be bound, right?
Yeah, yeah. Well, she kept them safe. I feel like with the priest blessing it all the time and kind of this whole little cavity is underneath a cave. You know what I'm saying? It's not like you can't just get there. You can't just walk in from the street. Like it's funny because in some of my videos I actually take the video camera and show you the whole way to get to her house and like it was just common things that we did back then, you know?
That's interesting. So she just gave tours of this room, though. Didn't she worry that some of those evil forces might attach themselves to people or whatever? Because I could
She
see
was
people being critical of like, let's turn this into a spectacle and charge people $10 to come in and look at this stuff, right?
she would do her lectures and then show people. It was educational for her. She didn't personally go back. She sent Tony Sparrow, who's the one that right now has the Annabelle doll who's behind me in the video. And she's in that box that's so famous that holds her.
Yeah, yeah, it's
And
pretty
so
interesting.
yeah, he ran the tours and things like that. Now my head hit the vampire's coffin when I was there, and it actually like gave me nightmares. There it is, the vampire's coffin. It's that is the vampire's graveyard in
Oh, you got to
Massachusetts.
wait. You got to tell us about this vampire's coffin. What? How did they get a vampire's coffin? This is supposed to be like a coffin from a real vampire.
Yeah, so what happened was this guy, he would not stop inhabiting this coffin and drinking blood. And so basically, his family had him put into an institution, which he's still in. And then they were freaked out about the coffin, so they gave it to the Warrens. And the Warrens, when the guy passed, like there's Ed going to visit the guy at the what they called the vampire's graveyard, which is like where all the people that believed that they were vampires were buried.
No, that's pretty interesting. I've never
And
heard that story.
my head hit that coffin and I had awful nightmares.
So this guy was just a regular human, though, but maybe he had mental illness or something, and he was just drinking blood, thinking he was a vampire and sleeping in a coffin.
Yeah, or maybe he was a vampire thinking that he was a human. Like, you know what I mean? Like I really
Whoa!
don't know. I believe in different supernatural things, but it was definitely creepy.
And there's a whole graveyard somewhere. Where is that? The vampire's graveyard.
That's in Eastern Mass. I don't know the exact address, but I know that
Well, I could
Ed,
look it up. That's an interesting story.
yeah, it's called the Vampire's Graveyard, and you can see obviously it's a very small graveyard. It's got that small fence that's bowing down in the front.
Hmm.
Um, they're over by Stepney, StephnY, I believe, cemetery. So it might be like around that origin. But they traveled to Japan. They traveled everywhere, so it's hard to say. But this place could be anywhere because they went everywhere.
Yeah, and all of the stuff that's in her little this museum here is all stuff that they've collected over the years of their paranormal research and different cases and
Yeah, you can see. Look, you can see. Oh yeah, we have some paranormal activity on the screen. So what winds up happening with some of these in the video, I was just going to give the tour, but paranormal stuff was happening. See the black thing that just crosses the screen suddenly?
it looks like a shadow. Yeah.
Yeah, and it is completely opaque. And so Lorraine closed off this room. She didn't want anybody in this room. And so I just stuck my camera in there. And that's what I caught flying across the room. And if you play the video, it actually makes a noise.
Oh, I'll
It's
see
like
if I,
it's
yeah, see if there's a creak or something.
it sounds like it's creaking. Hear it?
Oh, wow. I'm going to mess with your video later. See if I can get a still of that thing when it's right in the middle of the screen. That's pretty interesting.
And listen to the noise it makes. It's like an evil devil or something. I don't really know, but it did that on other parts of the room too. So you can see the little interference there. There's more of that, and it stretches out, and when it does, it sounds like a record, like getting scratched. So this is the room she told it nobody to go into, but I wanted to just show everybody what was in the room.
It
I
sounds like
didn't
you
step
had it sounds like you had a good relationship with her, so she gave you access to some of the areas that she wouldn't give the regular people, right?
right, and I was respectful and didn't step into the realm. I just recorded it so that for future like this, 20 years later, talking about it, it's like, you're able
Wait,
to see.
this is 20 years ago? You must not age. Maybe you're a vampire yourself. You don't look any different.
Thank you.
Look at that. Yeah, there's definitely some kind of shadow that flies through the room.
And there's more in the continuation of the video, but again, every interruption of visual is also followed by, you can see it coming out of the corner. It's followed by that ripping noise. And I didn't know I was catching it, or I would have kept the camera still. I didn't see some of that stuff until afterwards. Oh, did I lose you? Oops.
No, I'm still here. Oh wait, yeah, there you went sideways for a second.
I blipped.
There you go. Maybe it's the demons. That's what they're affecting the stream. They're not very happy that you're showing people them on film, maybe.
I know. So I touched that thing with my foot. I was so creeped out by that coughing.
Or there's something really going on.
It was really cool though, the whole experience down there. And I have other videos with Lorraine isolated in the restaurants and stuff, talking about,
Yeah, I
just
think
what
I've
you
seen some of
described.
those. I think I've seen some of those, but it's been some time since I looked at those.
Yeah.
She's definitely an interesting lady, and she dedicated her life. People don't know this, but they weren't like charging people money,
No,
right? They
no.
were if somebody had like a demonic infestation or a haunted house, they would go and try to help the family
Yeah.
to exorcise the demons or get rid of the spirits that were causing the family harm or
Mhm.
trauma, and they did that for free. They weren't profiteers. Back then there wasn't 65 ghost hunting shows on television, so
No, yeah,
I
I know. They
I
were
know they
actually,
did some television appearances, but they were basically interviews about their experiences.
yeah, you can see if you archive some of them, but they they had gotten death threats and things from people for doing these ghost hunts. Like, it was a very different world back then too. We were afraid of getting our name written in the devil's book.
Yeah,
So
and then they were active during that whole satanic panic and the cults and ritual abuse that may or may not have happened, and people were seeing satanic cults and demons in a lot of places that they may not have been.
yeah, well, there was the whole situation with Bundy, Ramirez.
Hmm.
There was this scare coming on from, there was a lot of serial killers that kind of made headlines. There was always serial killers, but they were making headlines. They were prolific, and they were making the news every day, and the news was a big thing. We were able to see what was transpiring in their trials and hearing the gritty details of what they did to their victims, and it's a different
Yeah, and
world.
there's such a morbid interest in that a lot of the grisly details would leak out in one way or another, either through a writer contacting them and interviewing them in prison before they were executed or whatever,
Mhm.
and newspaper articles about the murders and offering a lot of grisly details. And then a lot of those serial killers, they sort of played up, like the Night Stalker played up the whole Satanism thing.
Yes, I was just watching the Ramirez situation today, and it was so weird. Like, there's so many women that are obsessed with these serial killers that a lot of people think I'm obsessed with the serial killers, when in fact, what I'm obsessed with is the survivors. The people that, the mothers, the sisters, the people that are moving on from the death of their family member that has been killed in a heinous way and their bodies have been found in a grotesque manner. My interest is telling the story of the victim and also the survivors. How you survive after a tragedy like that is so important. And the common thread that I find with people that are surviving victims of individuals that they've lost from murderers like Ted Bundy, Gacy, what I find is they survive well or better when they start a foundation in the name of their loved one, and they start a plight and they talk about it and they use platforms and lectures. Because I've also seen parents that just, they die within a month of their child, like they just don't want to be on this earth anymore. But there's also people that, you know, they have different ways of grieving. And
Yeah, look at John Walsh. A lot of people don't know, but well, look, they should know. John Walsh from America's Most Wanted, and he has a new show now. He lost his 6-year-old son tragically to murder, and he turned that into his life's work to try to help missing children and victims of crime and catch the bad guys. And that gave him some purpose and maybe helped him survive that tragedy. Because I got a 5-year-old boy. I couldn't even imagine. I think I would be a mess.
And he was Adam Walsh was killed 15 minutes after he was captured. He was decapitated within such a short realm of time, and he was his killer was actually like questioned and let go, just like the Zodiac killer, and just like Ted Bundy, question and let go, question and let go. So something had put him on the radar previous to that, but they really just didn't even find out till about 3 or 4. Maybe 5 years ago when they did the forensic DNA on the car that was impounded.
Yeah.
And then they saw that horrific blood print of the face. And it was just, I mean, it was obviously Adam Walsh. Like it was, you see a picture of him, then you see his, the blood stain. It was horrific. But John Walsh is a hero. And he not only had to fight through his own situation and to fight through his own grief. Him and his wife wound up having 4 more children. I read their whole entire life story because they're such interesting individuals. But again, that survivor aspect, you need to have, you need to have hope in some way to survive. And I find that the people that, they build the foundations and they speak out, they thrive better than the people that don't.
Yeah. Well, my heart goes out to those kind of, or all victims of this kind of horrific crimes, like just, and especially people that are missing, that they never know what happened. Because those are even, to me, it's tragic enough to find out that your child got, kidnapped and murdered. But some people, the children just get kidnapped and they never know if they're alive, if they're dead, what happened to them, who did it. And their killers never get brought to justice. That's a huge tragedy to me.
Yeah, no, that's awful. And I'm hoping now, like there's a lot more unity going on in these communities with a lot of these situations. 'Cause how do 30 women get killed? Nobody sees anything. Like there's got to be some interaction. There's got to be like that. I'm a big conspiracy person myself, but there's in some of these situations, I don't see how these individuals are working single-handedly, and kind of breaking down that system by recognizing that and making sure that people are held accountable in these situations are going to be a huge turning point for the future for victims, not just women, men. Gacy's victims, Dahmer's victims were all male. A lot of people don't realize that it's not just women that are at risk for these individuals. Like there's a person born every day that a serial killer would profile because you have blue eyes, because you're from Spain. Like there's people that obsess over the craziest things.
Yeah, and there have actually been cases where like the victim profile was like brunette girls, of a certain age, so the girls would dye their hair black. Because they were afraid.
I remember that. There was the blonde-haired killer.
Yeah,
so
that's the one
women
I'm thinking
were going.
of. Yeah.
yeah, women were going dark haired and things like that. Creates hysteria for people, but again, that's just profiling, getting down to the actual personalities and getting more information. And, eventually it'll help us to sink our teeth into things a lot faster. So hopefully less people will be in jeopardy.
Wow. Well, I think I don't want to keep you very much longer. I know that you're very, very busy. I want to thank you for giving us an update. It's always interesting to talk to you. You have so many cool adventures and experiences that you could share, and I'm glad that you could come and share them here. What's next for the movie roles? You got a few more? Do you have some new stuff coming up? You have the TV show. You have these other projects, the ghost hunting projects. But is there another? Is there more horror films in your future?
Yes, so I haven't been able to announce just yet, but yes, I have a couple more movie announcements. I again want to do my homework like we talked about before and make sure that everything is the right fit for me as an actress, but I'm going to go on with the directing and go on with the creating. I like to be in charge and make sure that there is a level of safety and respect on my sets personally. And that's, I think, better and more easily maintained if I am going out to these places and dealing with these people rather than putting everybody in that bubble, in the indie community for weeks at a time where we're on each other's backs. So hopefully it'll bring a lot more to, to the individuals as actors to be able to find their best and perform their best. And I look forward to traveling. And in the meantime, again, with the paranormal ride, filming in between the traveling or the ghost
And do
hunting.
you know when this? Do you know when this House That Eats Flesh is getting released and where it will be or where people can catch it?
So right now they're filming the anthology because the first movie wound up being shorter. So I think Josh wanted to deliver the audience what they had originally paid for. So he's going to do an anthology, which 2 more movies are being filmed. But I believe the expected release date is 2022 without the month on the front of it. So
So we gotta
keep your eyes
wait a
open.
while. Yeah, we gotta wait a little while. But everything movie wise is of course delayed because of the current health situation, which we don't talk about here. Because that complicates everything. Because right, people have to be tested, masked. Try
Measures
to
have to
keep
be
everybody
taken,
safe.
and it's hard
You know,
because on a movie set there's so many people.
Yeah. Yeah, a lot of people don't realize that, but what you see on screen is just the actors and the actresses, and then there could be 100 people behind the scenes doing all kinds of stuff, prop people and makeup people and hair people and
Yeah,
sound
sweating to death
guys
with
and
masks on because we can't have air because it interferes with the audio. So yeah, like people are really putting
yeah,
in the work.
yeah. Well, I can't thank you enough for doing this. I really appreciate it, and I hope that you will come back again and tell us about your new adventures and maybe not take so long this time.
Yeah,
Yeah.
definitely. Hit me up the next time that you're interested and you have some free time. I love catching up and it's been a pleasure. I like catching up on Facebook and socials too, but this is great.
Yeah, and like I said, I'm selfish. I say, why do it offline? I can take my audience with me, and they
Yeah,
can all
exactly.
get caught up on your adventures too.
I love
So,
it.
all right, thank you very much. I'm going to do a quick wrap up because there's some drama going on in UFO land that I got to talk about tonight. So I didn't want to make you just sit there through this and be like, "What is he talking about?" Yeah.
No, that's okay. Thank you so much for having me. I appreciate it so much, and I can't wait to come back and
Yes, and I will
catch up
put
with
all
you.
your links. I will put all your links in the about section of this. They're not there right now because I'm a terrible show host,
No.
and I was doing a guest spot that went long right before this show. So I did. I will put all your links to your Facebook and your YouTube and where everybody can find you right after the show. I promise.
Okay, thank you so much. And
All
thank you
right.
for having me
Thanks. You
again.
have a great night. Thanks, Rachel. It's always a pleasure, friends, for me to talk to Rachel because she's just such an interesting lady into so many interesting things that I have a similar interest in. And interestingly, I told you I'm kind of weak on the ghost hunting stuff and on the demonology. I have an interest in it, but I'm not an expert on these things. And I would prefer to rely on somebody like her who has been an expert on these things and continues to be. And it's nice to see her going forward with her dream. I remember her telling me that one of her dreams was to be an actress. And I said, do it, girl. And she did. And I'm proud of her for that. So yeah, and we'll take some comments and questions from the live chat. But I definitely we got to talk about a few things. I'm going to share my Twitter here because there are some interesting developments in the Anjali story. And listen, I'm not going to be. I'm not going to. I'm going to try to choose my words carefully. I don't want to be sanctimonious. Is that the right word here? And say, I told you so. But one of the possibilities that I mentioned about Anjali and her story about meeting extraterrestrials in an alien base and having a friend that dug a tunnel into an alien base. And um, one of the possibilities I said for this outcome, she had promised that she was going to do an expedition by the end of the year and get all the proof, take scientists, get films, get videos, get sensor data. I don't know what kind of proof that you could get if you're standing in front of an extraterrestrial that is incorporeal and not imagined or in your own mind. She claims that these beings were living, breathing beings. So she had promised that she was going to do this expedition with members of the media and with scientists and with paranormal investigators and UFO experts, and she was going to form this expedition team and going back into the mountain and talk to those aliens again, but this time bring us all the proof. And one of the possibilities that I said how this story may end is what I called kick the can, which is to say, well, we can't do it for one reason or another. The cave collapsed. The guy wouldn't give us permission to go back into his mountain or whatever. But generally, one of the big possibilities is that I foresaw that there would be a kicking of the can, that is a delay. Honestly, I was surprised that she gave a hard date, because most of these people won't give a hard date, and she did. But one of my concerns was that kicking the can or delay or making excuses for why she won't deliver on her original promised date of providing this proof and doing this expedition. Earlier today, I was on a live broadcast at the last minute. It wasn't planned, with Alien Girl 111, who you might remember as being a previous guest here. And Alien Addict was the person she was interviewing, but then she invited me on, and I didn't know this when I went on, but then Anjali jumped on. And so she was kind of asked for an update about what is going on, first saying that this wasn't the right platform for it, and all of these different things. And then telling us essentially that she went back to the mountain in the past few weeks, and Wayne, the person who owns the mountain, would not give her permission to go back on his property, and also will not give her permission to go forward with her plans for a scientific expedition into the mountain to get the proof of the aliens. And here we have a tweet from her that I believe she must have tweeted right after the broadcast that says, "With great respect, the expedition to the mountain is postponed. Wayne has now said no one may enter his property, including myself. My intentions are to press forward. I'll gather the team. They'll be briefed, and together we will determine a plan of action. I need backup." And boy, what a Twitter thread this one is. So, with full disclosure, I am, saying I'm not very surprised that this is one of the outcomes. This is one of the outcomes that I mentioned I thought was a strong possibility, which is a delay to say, we, for one reason or another, we can't go. Now, I would like to mention that there has been other very bitter, angry little people that have been putting words in my mouth for quite some time, saying that I said, I believe her, that those aliens are real, that she's going to bring us the proof, or that I said, well, I checked into her military and that's real. I checked into her DIA background and that's real. I checked into her employment history and her education and that's real. So the aliens must be real too. I never said any of that. And did I say that I'd be willing to go to this on this expedition? Sure. And here we have, look, Jeremy for Alien Scientist was on the panel too. An Alien Scientist said I offered to join her team tonight. He's willing to go. I'm willing to go. Doesn't mean I believe there's aliens there, but it does mean that both Jeremy and I are interested enough in what she's saying and the story that we'd be willing to go there and get to the bottom of the mystery. But again, people love to put words in my mouth, and honestly, these people putting words in my mouth are doing so in an attempt to turn people against me. And if you're going to do that, there's nothing I can do. There's just nothing I can do. You can turn people against me all you like, or attempt to. Most people may agree with me that it's an interesting enough story that if given the opportunity to go see that mountain and climb in that tunnel and meet those aliens, I'm going to take it. I'm going to take it because I love a great mystery. And I would love to get to the bottom of that mystery, right? Spooky is here and says, you mean the most predictable outcome happened? I'm so surprised. Yes, and there was also some mention that Wayne has taken a turn for the worse health-wise, and that, that made me think that this may end with, well, Wayne died, so nobody's allowed on the mountain. One way or the other, I felt like this hard limit to like, okay, we'll give you the proof by the end of the year. I kind of thought that wasn't going to happen. I mentioned some possibilities that I thought were a distinct and real possibility about how I felt this story may end. It seems like one of my predicted outcomes has happened now, that we're going to delay things and kick the can and make excuses for why we can't go to the mountain and see those aliens and see the proof of those aliens. Now, along with again, I don't want to appear to be like, I'm not here saying, I told you so, because I just discussed this as one possibility. But the more that I think about Anjali's story, she corrected somebody today, and I'm going to have to go back to the tape and hear exactly how she prefers her name to be said and say it the way she prefers, because names are important. And I shouldn't mispronounce her name. So if I did, I apologize. Anyway, I'm going to, try to do better with that. But the other thing that I will say is that I mentioned that I'm really, really, if I had to choose one possibility for what may have been the cause of her experience, it would be DMT, whether a spontaneous release of DMT that occurred naturally, or ingested DMT, whether knowingly ingesting DMT or unknowingly ingesting DMT, or some other hallucinogen may have given her this, what we can only say is a very profound experience, right? We can say a lot of things about her, but what we can't say is that she is not adamant and very passionate about her belief that her experience was real, right? And we have people putting spam links in the chat thanks to the moderators. So the other theory that I have really is that she had some form of hallucinogenic experience which produced this experience with her that led her to believe that she was, either seeing aliens or higher beings or gray aliens and tall white aliens and purple being. Her description of her experience was very, very, it just reminded me so much of my own experience with DMT that she had a DMT trip. Now, this is my opinion and my speculation. And, I'm not saying this to disparage her or to make light of what she feels is the most profound experience of her life. I don't want to belittle her for possibly mistaking a hallucinogenic trip with meeting aliens, in the real world. Lynette 411 is here and says she was very credible, but I agree, DMT. Yeah, it could be. And Rebecca Turner says, oh, of course, it was. I just thought she'd milk it a little longer, is all. Yeah. Uh, yeah, and it's unfortunate that this has happened because, first of all, speaking to her in person a few times has humanized her to me. And I've said it before, I'll say it again. I'm worried about her mental state and that sort of this backlash, because certainly now she's going to get hammered on Twitter. She's going to get hammered on Reddit. She's going to get hammered everywhere on the internet for promising this proof and now making excuses. Now, one can believe that her making excuses and never providing the proof was always going to happen. Or one can believe her that she went back to this Wayne person, tried to get back to the mountain, and because of the attention or whatever, Wayne was unable or unwilling to let her back onto the mountain to get the proof or allow her to do this expedition into the mountain and the tunnel to get the description. Alien Scientist says her description of walking through the cave using the cell phone to see her footsteps was interesting. I don't know. And you should check out her original press conference where she tells parts of the story, Alien Scientist. Then another show host did an interview before me, and then there's my interview with her, which goes into a lot more detail. Cosmic Neighbor says, I think she did this now before a lot more pressure built up as the year comes to a close. Figured get it out of the way now. Could be, it's kind of like ripping a Band-Aid off. You got to do it quick, right? And let's see. Doughy Face Moretz says, sometimes I think those who are affiliated with the government and bring out alien stories are designed to lead people in circles. I could believe that. The Sixth Sense says, Alien Addict totally had her on her heels. I agree with that too. I didn't. I left before Gufon got there. Gufon called out Anjali for her BS. And listen, I'm going to ask Amy from Alien Girl if I have her permission to play that portion of the video that just happened on her live show earlier tonight. If we have her permission to do that tomorrow, and we will talk in more detail. And I think maybe I'll do a panel all about Anjali. People want to hear about it. I'm interested in other people's opinions of her story, of her experience, of these new excuses being made for why she won't provide the proof, that she won't, that she would not. What do people think of her new excuses for why she can't provide the proof? I'm on the fence. I'm not sure. And I see UFO Watchdog on Twitter saying, how many times have we been promised aliens? Countless times. How many have actually delivered? And he's got a picture of the Count from Sesame Street going 0. Yeah. Yeah, it's unfortunate, but this is kind of, it's disappointing to me a little bit, but I expected this. And now we've got more. Put the user in timeout again. We've got spammers in the live chat, right? And friends, I am going to check in with. I apologize if I missed them. Very busy kind of show tonight. If there is any super chats, I did not read them. We're going to attempt to read them now if there is any. Otherwise, friends, if you have any money to throw at me, please do it quickly because we are going to be wrapping things up here shortly. And let's see. So no super chats tonight. So we didn't miss anything. I'm going to check in with the PayPal. Just a reminder that there's a few ways to support us. There's PayPal donate button in the About section of our video here. And also, you can sign up for my Patreon for as little as $1 a month, or there's that money button down there. You just push the money button and how much you want to give us, and YouTube does the rest, and that will throw a few bucks in our hat. Otherwise, we're going to wrap things up here. Lynette 411 says, I believe she believes. Yeah, I believe that as well, Lynette. I believe that she truly believes that what happened to her is a real and genuine experience. Spooky says, everything about her story screams my lab. It very well could be. Spooky says, not aliens. Yeah. The Sixth Sense says, her excuse was only a matter of time. There is no way could have proven it anyways. Yeah. Doughy Face Moretz says, I'm inclined to agree with you, Spooky, as am I. You never know, right? And this is a sure feeling possibility, right? Blue 570 says, I have a feeling if they wanted her to introduce them to the world, then that guy would not be able to prevent it. Yeah, could be, right? And I'm anxious to go see what Rich from Goofon said, because I'm sure he was a little less polite than I or even Jeremy Rise Alien Scientist was. But Alien Addict sure hit her with a few good questions, and we also got her to clarify her position on DMT, which I don't know what I feel about, because there's screenshots of her saying she's talked to the aliens on mushrooms and DMT and this and that. And then there's other screenshots of her saying, I've never done any hallucinogenic drugs. And on this interview earlier, she said, I've never done any hallucinogenic drugs. We asked her to clarify that. Now, there's a television producer, Ryan. Some of you may remember him from the Travis Walton story. He claims that he's got drone footage of the area, that he spoke with Wayne, and he's got a big story that's coming. We'll see what happens with that. And my friends, you're going to have to forgive me. I've got an awful cold and a sore throat, but I really can't complain because it's not COVID, and I haven't been sick at all. I haven't had as much as a scratchy throat in 2 years, or however long, since March, when this lockdowns and the current health situation started. Spooky says, I want to know about the military boots on the higher beings. Yeah, there's some weird. She told the story about them having real big, thick military boots and outfits that look like a cross between a wetsuit and a military uniform. So there's that. New details dropped about the aliens, even though now it appears that we're not going to get proof of the aliens. And, I don't know what I can say about this story, except I feel sorry for her because she's going to get hammered now. Right or wrong, worthy, deserving or not, she's definitely going to get hammered, especially by the critics who said this was going to happen. I said, hey, I hope that she really does provide the proof, but I wasn't going to hold my breath waiting for the proof of the aliens, right? I had a feeling that something like this may happen, or some other, delay, stall tactics, excuses for why she couldn't do what she originally said she was going to do. But we'll explore more of this tomorrow after I have some time to watch the entire thing that just happened. If you want to check it out, it's on Alien Girl 111. Just put Alien Girl 111 in the search bar, and you'll be able to hear what happened tonight. And everybody on UFO Twitter and other people are talking about it already. I'm glad that I could be a part of it. I almost didn't because I was busy and I have to do my own show, but I thought, no, I've been trying to sort of get Alien Addict to be a guest here, so I thought it was a good opportunity to reach out, or he's trying to get me to be a guest. And then, and then Anjali just happened to be in the live chat and just come on to the stream, which was unexpected. And then, I had to jump out early to do the show here, but I didn't want to cancel or push back the interview. We had an interview scheduled with Rachel here, and I never cancel an interview with a guest, or I try my very best never to ever do that, right? Yeah, Sixth Sense says, and this may be fair, she's a liar. I don't think there was any doubt. And her believing it is real, a sign of a pathological liar. They believe their own lies. Could be. Yeah. I agree, Six. Either way, it's all a lie. Yeah, very disappointing lie. Because many people, you know what I thought? I thought, I'll hope for the best, but I'm expect the worst. And, but there's many other people that really, really believed her and really, really had these huge hopes that she was going to give us the proof of the absolute, the absolute proof of aliens, 100% proof that no one could argue with by the end of the year. And then we'd have disclosure and everybody would be happy that wants disclosure, whatever that is now. It depends on who you ask for the definition. We've got David Wilcock and other clowns running around saying disclosure already happened and I'm going to sell it to you for $333. Well, if it already happened, why do I got to pay that clown $333 to get the disclosure that already happened? To me, that's kind of suspect, right? Mr. Snake Oil. But it is what it is. And this is where we find ourselves. Tomorrow, after I had plans, tomorrow, after I have had time to listen to the rest of what was said after I left the stream, I'm going to make some notes and we are going to more fully explore the Anjali story and latest developments. And that's all we could do. People are asking me instantly, like, you got to do a show on this. And I said, I've got an interview already scheduled for tonight. I'm not going to cancel or change it. We'll do this tomorrow. So tomorrow night, I've got another interview scheduled tomorrow night. So I'm going to have to do this one. I'm going to have to do this tomorrow afternoon then. And we'll do a double shot of Truthseekers tomorrow. One show about the Anjali and the latest Anjali developments. We'll invite panel members to discuss what happened. And you are most welcome to be here, ask comments, questions in the live chat. We are going to fully explore all of that. Evil Dead Ed El Jefe is here and says, what's up, Steve? What's up, Evil Dead Ed El Jefe? Good to see you here in the live chat. So we've got not many people in the live chat. I'm going to give some shout outs. Shout out to Prag Magic, Rebecca Turner. Shout out to The Sixth Sense. Shout out to Doughy Face Moretz. Shout out to Spooky. Shout out to Out of Mind. Shout out to Grandmaster UV. And let me see, who else do we have in here? Shout out to Cosmic Neighbors. Ron from Cosmic Neighbors is here. Shout out, Ron. Yeah. Alien Scientist is here. Shout out to Alien Scientist. And again, Spooky is here. Lynette411 holding down the Twitch chat. Indigo Ginzo is here. And Indigo has an interesting point. DMT isn't just naturally released in the body at insane times like that. She's either a liar or a schizo or both. You shouldn't have dignified her BS with an interview. Well, we'll agree to disagree. I thought the story was interesting, especially given her military and defense intelligence agency background. I thought the story was interesting enough to at least give her an interview and try to learn more, right? But that's just me. Everybody's entitled to their own opinion. Shout out to Red Storm 1 is here. Shout out to Blue Fav 70 is here. And I think that's everybody. I can only go so far. Shout out to Brock Landers. Brock Landers is here. Brock Landers says, drink some ginger tea with honey, dude. I'm drinking tea with honey and lemon right now. And yes, it does help. It clears the phlegm and everything from your throat. So I'm able to keep going. I used to have a job where I had to talk on the phone all day long. And I hated getting sick because, you need your voice. Shout out to Lee Guy. Lee Guy is here. And I'm in the same boat now. I need my voice to do shows. And I don't want to cry too much because all I have is a man cold. But we all know how terrible man colds could be, especially all you ladies that have men in your lives. The worst thing in the world is a man with a cold. We cry like babies, right? So we're going to wrap things up here, friends. I want to thank our incredible guest tonight, Rachel Hoffman from Paranormal Expeditions, and the movie The House That Eats Flesh, as well as a few other movies and television shows. She's working on a great deal of stuff. Oh, and shout out to Evil Dead Ed El Jefe, who says, "You're a great interview. I enjoyed your Lauren session." Great. Thanks for being here. And I appreciate your kindness. And I want to thank everybody for attending tonight, especially because, yeah, look, I've come to accept that majorly people come here to hear me talk about UFOs and hear my guests talk about UFOs. But I never set out to do just UFOs. I'm interested in demons and ghosts and cryptid creatures and all manner of paranormal events besides UFOs. So every once in a while, we're going to throw you a curveball, and I hope that you will, I hope that you guys will indulge me and be okay with me doing that. I can't just talk about UFOs. There's not enough to talk about. I don't care what anybody says. I know some guys do shows 7 days a week about UFOs. I don't want to do that. I don't think that is a good. I don't think that is a good plan for me. If it's a good plan for them, good for them. I'm not going to do that. Rebecca Turner says, "Thanks, Stephen. Good interview, and it was interesting. I used to be really into that stuff." Yeah, me too, right? And Lee Guy is here and says, "Gah, I work phones now and I hate it. Thank God for caffeine, nicotine, and Lexapro." Yeah, you got to do something to survive corporate cubicle land. That's what I did. But for me, it was caffeine, nicotine, and green. But don't tell my boss. I haven't worked there in ages. You can tell. It's okay. Let's just say I had salad for lunch, Lee Guy. I had salad at every break, Lee Guy, right? Have to do something. To sit in a cubicle for 10 or 12 hours a day, you got to do something, right? To keep yourself from wanting to blow your brains out, right? I'm so glad I'm never going back to a cubicle ever again in my life. We'll never say never. If my children were hungry and that was all I could do to feed them, I would do it. But hopefully it never comes to that. I much prefer working for myself than working for somebody else. So what can I say, friends? This is where we find ourselves tomorrow. We're going to have 2 shows. We're going to have a show on Anjali in the early afternoon, hopefully. And then we're also going to have a show with the one and the only author of the blog Bad UFOs. And I can't tell you, friends, Bad UFOs is awesome because it's a skeptical site, but we get to definitely explore a lot more of the truth sometimes with some of the skeptics. One of the big problems is that some people are just too believing. And, I can't tell you, Robert Schaefer will be here tomorrow at 9 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. He's the author of the blog Bad UFOs, and he has revealed a lot of scammers and fake stories over the years. I think it's a valuable resource and often thankless job in the community to do that kind of work. So for me, I'm happy to be able to talk to him more, learn more about his work and what got him so interested, and what is really what I consider a public service that he does, showing people, UFOs that are fake or CGI and how he figured that out. It's a great resource. So that's where we're at, friends. Please join me tomorrow for a double shot of Truthseekers. That's the way we got to do it. I'm going to power through it, even though I'm sick and would rather not do 1 show, let alone 2. But I don't want to leave this Anjali situation. If I do, people will suspect things and, start speculating about why I haven't done a show about it or whatever. So we're going to do it. We'll get it done. And, I appreciate everybody who wants to hear from me on this so much. I got a whole bunch of emails, DMs, and PMs already from people watching that earlier stream. So we'll cover it tomorrow. I always say this, friends. I'm always happy when there's an audience. Thank you for being a part of mine. If you are listening in the audio podcast realm, be sure to come over to YouTube. smash that subscribe button. Just put Truthseekers, one word, into the search bar in YouTube. Look for me, Stephen Cambion, your host, the strange guy in sunglasses. Smash that subscribe button, hit that notification bell. And then you too can come here and be a part of our live interactive chats while we do the live tapings that end up becoming the audio podcast. If you're listening to the audio podcast, you're missing half the fun. Come on over here to YouTube, search Truthseekers, find us, subscribe, hit the notification bell. You'll be glad you did. We have a very welcoming crowd here. You're most welcome here in the live chat. And all are welcome, skeptics, believers, or anyone in between. And finally, just a point to remind everybody, another way that you can support the show is to like, comment, subscribe, and share. Send our channel link to some of your friends who are interested in these topics. Send some of our videos to your friends. Post them on your Facebook, your Instagram, your Twitter, anywhere that you can post these links. It would help us for you to do so. And I appreciate all the people who are retweeting and posting my links on Facebook and Instagram and other places. I see you all doing that, and it puts a smile on my face. So please try and do more of it. So what can I say, friends? Until next time, my name is Stephen Cambion. Good night, and God bless all of you.